gonna be so much fun!
I love the PAW Patrol villain pup Moby. He's such a cute, silly, ineffectual baddie. That's why even though he's only in 5 episodes and has a critical lack of merch, he gets a solid place in my top 10 pups. However, over and over again when this grumpy little Portuguese water dog merpup gets discussed, people get argumentative. These discussions sometimes get very toxic and often involve harsh words about Carl or even Ryder and the pups. So today, let's look into the problem with Moby.
Hey, I can speak!
Moby is introduced to us as a grumpy little guy who, despite participating in celebrations, clearly does not like them. He puts on headphones to block the noise of the celebratory singing, but since he keeps them on, he wanders into the bizarrely two-dimensional traffic of Villainous and has to be saved.
I reminded Moby that his new shell phones he made are cool, but maybe don't wear them when he's swimming.
He doesn't show much gratitude for this.
That was Merpup for a grumpy thank you.
When accidentally given a magical girl transformation scene, he gets legs and a speaking voice like a land pup. After finding the small island of junk and showing incredible engineering prowess, he lays out his motivation.
This island's so tiny, and I miss Puplentus, but without all that ridiculous singing and dancing. If only I could get the merpups to go away.
He then enacts a series of dastardly plans, first to move the whole city to the surface to force all the other residents to be homeless.
Once we reach the surface, I'll use my remote, crank up this propeller, and sail my castle island far away where there will be no celebrations or singing!
Then, to win a race that will give him the right to cancel the other pups' celebrations.
Soon, I'll be king of Puplantis, and I'll cancel the big celebration forever!
And to use a stolen museum artifact to summon a giant squid to disrupt a single celebration, which he effectively succeeds in doing. He's perfectly happy stealing, cheating, and recklessly endangering others. But since he's pretty terrible at being bad, his antics usually end up with no harm done, and he does show he cares for McSquidly. Like so many pup villains in Paw, he ends up likable.
You gotta help me! That big squid's got McSquidly!
Okay, so what's the problem? Okay, Moby is a pup who finds social gatherings difficult, he prefers inventing, and certain noises are hard for him to deal with. Many young fans have taken these factors and other subtle mannerisms to suggest Moby is neurodivergent, autistic, with misophonia. This is often rooted in personally identifying with Moby, but of course it's not only neurodivergent fans who like this headcanon. And considering Moby autistic is on its surface not something you'd think would cause issues. The problem is when it's seen to make him blameless. If Moby is autistic and especially sensitive to sound, the theory goes, the others are not accommodating who he is, and tormenting him with their singing and considering him a villain is outright ableism. As a corollary to this, Carl and potentially the pups are simply bad people for not being sensitive to his needs and accommodating him. After all, these loud parties go on all the time. Or in a slight variation, you could say Moby is doing horrible things now, but he's only turned out this way after a lifetime of being mistreated. So Moby is essentially the victim of a system that torments him, and we should have only contempt for those who perpetrate his mistreatment. For me, just like with Wheeler, Rex, Rocky, and any other character you like, I think there's no harm seeing them as autistic as your headcanon. Certainly though, I don't think there's any chance this is what writers intended for the character. I personally consider it a stretch to call Moby's actions a result of his being autistic. Neurotypical people can resent others' celebrations too, and I phrase it that way because I think a little too much is made of the sound part. His debut episode in particular emphasizes dancing and celebration in general upset him, not just singing.
The whole city will be mine without any singing or dancing! I'm a genius!
Though singing definitely is the part that gets focused on the most. But yes, the fact remains it's only an aspect of what he resents.
That singing really fries my fins!
Perceived as neurodivergent or not, it remains important to ask just how much Moby cannot avoid hearing singing, is forced to attend celebrations, and is able to get some quiet respite. We sadly don't get clear answers, but it seems like he puts himself in these situations in order to act out, rather than having no choice to attend. How would they force him exactly? And given the many times we see Villainous just silent, and Moby's focus on celebration days, as well as the simple practicalities of denizens needing to sleep, I really don't think Villainous is 24/7 interminable singing.
The sweet sound of silence.
Though yes, when they do sing, it's canonically pretty absurdly penetrating, and I can see how that would get annoying.
Ugh, why must those merpups sing so much? It makes it hard to focus on my genius plan.
The more important element here is where things get contentious, though. Seeing Moby as autistic or not, fine, that's personal choice. But seeing it as an excuse for his behavior, and that Carl is a bad person for not accommodating him, is for me way too far.
You drive. I want to get a better look at their grumpy little faces. Oh yeah. Look at that!
I've never been diagnosed as neurodivergent, but I do have misophonia, and never go out without sound-blocking headphones just in case. But do you know what I don't do? Steal vehicles, cheat in races, try to force people out of their homes, drive at them to stop them singing. And if I did, I certainly wouldn't expect to be seen as in the right for hearing a triggering sound. And sure, I'm not suffering through it at all times in my home, but for one, I don't think Moby is either, and for another, that still doesn't justify what he does, or mean the onus is on others to bend over backwards for him. Being autistic doesn't mean you can't also be a jerk. There's no circumstance Moby is blameless and Carl is in the wrong, even if he's autistic, misophonic, and has suffered for years. Though with all that said, there is one thing I'd have liked to have seen for him, even if it's fine that it's not there. But at the end of Pups Save a Mer race, instead of everyone enjoying his disappointment after his dirty tricks, wouldn't it be nice if Carl used her queenly power to make Moby some sort of quiet zone? This poor baby. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. Do you think I've missed anything out? Do you have an extra perspective to offer? Let me know, and either way, I'll see you guys next time.